Because then you get to optionals. And this might be me just reaching, but then you get to optionals and you have a kid that's like really, really robotic like that, and they don't, in my opinion, at least from my, or maybe it shouldn't be my opinion, from my peripheral sight, eavesdropping, I don't think they score as well. I think a good optional beam worker has that sense of flow, has that sense of timing, has that sense of artistry, for lack of a better term, on beam more so. It's even more obvious because it just becomes like a stage. It's just like you're elevated, you're up there.
I think definitely, but I also feel like it all comes down to the choreography and what choreography you give them, or who's doing their choreography, because it's not like, I could say like all of my routines and all of my style of dancing might not fit everybody's dancing. And I do try my best to be as flexible as possible with everybody. And then I guess it just depends on the choreographer's background and, what is their style, But I feel like there's a lot of kids who have knobby knees or not a lot of flexibility, and they get put in a routine that just does not fit them well.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, that just hurts the kid, where you could have given something. I think not too long ago, I had a kid that just moved to my gym, and she had a choreographer. I don't know who did her choreography, but she's just one of the kids that kind of like sickles her feet and bends her knees, and she had a lot of releves and a lot of pretty poses, but those pretty poses weren't really working on her. So I changed a lot of those to like passes and pliés, where it still looked good.
But now you didn't have the accent of that line not
but
being
now
like,
I'm not focusing on her sickled feet when she's doing her releve. Now I'm focusing on her dance and her moving through the routine without me having to like stop and like deduct, stop and deduct, stop and deduct. You know what I mean?
I think what you're speaking to right there is more so a point about the maturity of coaching. It's like when you start coaching, you want the results, and that's like, that's what you prioritize. I need to get this result. I need to get this result. And I don't think compulsory does a good. I think you should start in compulsory because it's important for you to know the foundation, technique, and progress. Yeah,
but I think one of the things that me and you are very adamant about is that sometimes you're willing to risk certain things for. For future things,
right. Well, and we're also, and I think this might be unique to you and me also, is like, we're also willing to say like, I think I was wrong about that. Especially at the beginning. Like at the beginning, there were some moments of frustration where I was like dead set. I'm like, I'm going to do this. And then say like, I think I was wrong about that moment or about that thing. And I think what you're speaking to is realizing as a coach for you, especially in terms of artistry, composition, things like that, realizing that you're not just trying to make them look pretty, that what you're trying to do is give them the best movement to hold on to as many tenths as possible. Right. That is not a sentiment that every coach has. Some coaches are like, you need to be pretty.
Yeah, you need to look this certain way, this specific way, but you have to remember that even in life, everybody looks pretty in their own way. You know what I mean? Like, it's not...
But that's maturity.
Yeah.
That's maturity as a coach, knowing that like, I have this kid, she looks like this, biomechanically she looks like this, she moves like this, her personality is like this. Yeah. How am I going to either accent that or make it to where it makes sense for her to have this kind of choreography or composition? That's maturity, because not a lot of people can do that. If you hear children, it's because there's children. So,
guilty.
But it's okay, we're in a gym. This is where they're supposed to play. I think that's maturity as a coach, and I don't think a lot of people start off that way. I think that even a lot of people end up at like high level gymnastics, and they're so. This would be a good segue, but they're so headstrong on like their way, and like they don't move from that post.
Yeah, but I guess it is the maturity, and I guess it's also like, but why not give everybody the experience they deserve? You know what I mean? Like, don't. I think this is something that I've learned from people that I've worked with before. It's only this way and it should only be this way, and it's kind of like me stepping back. And I don't know if this is like a Libra thing from me, and I just want balance overall over everybody. But like, I want everybody and all my gymnasts to be successful in whatever way they can be. And so why not give them the options that will give them a little bit of a higher score, and not just for me and for my, my glory, but also for them and for them to have a good experience. At the end of the day, you'll have gymnasts that are done at level 8, level 7, level 6, wherever they're going to be done. But give them that good experience. No, don't be so rigid on, no, but it has to be just this way.
So in the last episode, I'm sure you caught some pieces of it. I talked to Bray, and she was talking about that there was a clip that was really popular on Instagram we're talking about coaches' egos. Yeah. You just touched on something a little bit where you were saying it's not just for me. We've been around people that their entire self-worth as a coach was the result of these gymnasts.
Right.
And I mean, we've had conversations where we've been frustrated at the end of the night and where we're just like...
Yeah, because it impacted us.
Yeah, because it impacted, because it got in the way of our work. But then it also made us feel bad. Like, these gymnasts are having to have they have the weight and the responsibility, and they don't even know it. But like, for this person, for this coach, they have the weight and the responsibility of having to be good, or else this adult doesn't feel good about themselves. Right. So... speak on that a little bit if you can, because you were saying, like, not just for me but for the gymnast, for like what's the ultimate, what's the goal, what's the philosophy, what's something that is that a line for you that you won't cross? Like,
I feel like I've been put in a situation where it was very tough for me to leave a competition or leave practice knowing that my athlete could have done so much better or scored so much better if only I would have changed something about it, and not being able to do it because at the end of the day it just wasn't my place, or I just wasn't allowed to. And I think thankfully now that I am in the position that I'm able to make those decisions, I tried to be much better than, those times. I don't know if you remember one time, we were at a H&I meet, and we're on vault specifically.
Oh, I think I do. I think I do remember whenever we were instructed specifically to do the souk. This was whenever they... This was whenever they switched the vaults, right? It was like the first year that they switched the vault to the timer vault.
They were doing, there was the first year, and the kids were doing... And
I had a couple kids that were doing Yurchenkos because I wanted them to flip Yurchenkos eventually.
No, I think it was
Or was it the opposite?
They were doing... We wanted them to do souks because they were just not like Yurchenko kids, right? Yeah, but it was like, no, they have to do Yurchenkos. Everybody does Yurchenkos. And I'm like...
So it was the opposite, for sure.
Yeah, and I think we got to a point where it was like...
She's going to score better right now in the moment if she does this, and she's going to feel better about herself.
Right.
And we made them do the souk, and they scored better.
They scored better, and it came back and bit us in the butt that same day because it was like... Oh, you guys did what? Y'all made decisions?
I think I got the call, and then on that Monday, I was
out
like...
for the rest of the season. Like, I didn't get to show up to any more meets that season. It was crazy, but I was like, whatever, it was worth it. Like, the kid did well. The kid did well.
That day.
The kid left happy. They knew they had the possibility on doing it. It was just like, optionals has options. Let's be flexible, And I think me and you were definitely being rebels then, but we were like... We just think that was the best decision, which was another tough thing for us because it was like